Tim Gross, I find you highly suspicious that Tim Gross is not an indoor job.
Look, keep your shoes for video.
I'll give you, look at it, making a whole lot of mess in the kitchen. I don't find you very helpful.
Hello everybody, hope you're okay. I've got the New Balance FuelCell Rebel V4 here. I've done about 30 miles in it over 3 runs, and as you can see I've totally ruined them already. It's meant to be the white with lime and hot mango colourway, but yeah, apologies for the mud on the heels as it were, or on the tongue, but there we go. Anyway, so I got this shoe from Sports Shoes for £140, and I must say good kudos to them because I couldn't get my 10% discount to work, so I contacted them after the fact and actually honoured that, so that was very good of them. So I effectively got it for £126. Now, the good thing about the shoe is that this is perhaps the lightest shoe that I'm currently using outside of my race shoes. It's only 275 grams in the UK 13.5. Now, you have to remember with New Balance shoes that they're half a size more than, say, Nike, Saucony or Brooks. So I normally take a UK 13 in a Nike, but I have to take a UK 13.5 in a New Balance. It doesn't mean to say that the sizes is wrong. It just means that New Balance sizes are different. And New Balance share the same thing as Adidas and Hoka in having their UK sizes half a size less than US. So bear that in mind when you're choosing your sizing. And for Aubrey, I must have to get closer to this one. It's got a Gusseted Tongue, Aubrey. So yeah, perhaps I'll just finish the review there saying Gusseted Tongue, that's all we need to know. And for Ed Bud, yeah, it's got some rubber on the outsole. So yeah, excellent. Should we stop there? Or should we perhaps all carry on? Anyway, I would also have to say that this shoe is possibly the widest shoe that you could possibly be. This is only in a medium. I believe there's actually a wide version of it. And you think, well, if I was ever wanted to go into the circus and needed a clown shoe, then perhaps I could go take this one. I've done an outline of my foot here, the left foot, and you can hopefully see how much wider the actual base of the shoe is than my foot. At the base here, it's 10.5 centimetres. At the midsole, it's about 9 centimetres, and its very widest point, it's 13 centimetres. That compares to my actual feet, which are 10 centimetres across at the widest point, 8 centimetres there in sort of like the midsole, and the heel is 6.5. So basically the heel is 4 centimetres wider than my actual heel. Now if you compare that to the Vaporfly 2, which is obviously one of my favourite shoes, you can just see how much narrower the heels are. It's only 8.5 centimetres in the heel there, so it's 2 centimetres less in the heel. The widest point is actually 12 centimetres in the Vaporfly 2 compared to 13 there, so it's not quite so wide, but it does come in a lot here at the middle, 6.5 in at the narrowest point, whereas the Rebel is 9 centimetres. So it just goes to show how wide it is. And I'll show some pictures of me putting this on. You can see there, I've almost got the tongues touching. I'll put a picture of how they are out of the box, and it's about 2 centimetres sort of like further away, the tongues out of the box. So yeah, not ideal for me for sure. And it's a shoe that I almost decided to send back, but I thought I'd give them a go. That all said, New Balance on their website say that this is perfectly average for every size of average footness. So yeah, I'm not quite sure where they get their measurements for the standard stock size in a UK 13.5. Andy Rayner, FOD runner, always says he's got a wide foot, but I'm sure with this one, I think he'd be pulling in them nearly as much as me. I did actually manage to get possibly the only UK 13.5 I could possibly see in the whole of the UK. New Balance themselves don't seem to sell one. Sports Shoes literally seem to have one left. So I'm interested to hear, did anyone else pick up a UK 13.5 in this one? In terms of though fitting actual true to size, i.e. is it actually long enough? Yeah, well, it's perfectly long enough. The insole is actually a 32 centimetre insole, which is exactly what it's meant to be in a US 14 compared to all the other brands. So that's completely standard. Being as it's so wide, I don't have to put in the laces too much. The actual upper then actually sort of sticks up a bit, and I actually feel like I've got quite a lot of room in the front, which is in a way quite nice, but it just feels like when you're running along that the outsole just does feel like it's a bit too much, and I almost sort of feel when I first ran in it, I was going to sort of trip up as I was going along. The upper is what is called Phantom Fit. Now I think, you know, sometimes they just come up with these names, a bit like Fuel Cell. The Fuel Cell in this is absolutely nothing like the Rebel V2 Fuel Cell, which was like ultra soft. It was just too soft to me. This Fuel Cell is meant to be a PIBA EVA blend. I think the PIBA bit is only 20%, so perhaps that's a bit more of a marketing ploy than anything. Also, you think being a PIBA sort of based foam, that it would be really soft. It's not really that soft to be too honest. It's nicely soft, and if I press that down there, you've got like quite a lot of compression for sure. On foot, it's only a 30mm at the back and 24 at the front for a 6mm drop. So it does sort of feel like you've got a bit of ground feel. I think when I was going along for a while, initially it sort of felt quite sort of bouncy, but after a while I started to feel my toes in the front a bit, and also the fact it's 6mm drop. Maybe it's a drop that I'm not that used to, but after a while it just feels slightly sort of slappy in terms of the fact that you feel like you have to do all the work. But in a way I feel like I should sort of vary my drops a bit more, because I tend to go for like 8 and 10, and you kind of think in these sort of like different drops, you get the foot to experience a bit different thing. And on a sort of an easy, steady day, then maybe that's the sort of thing you want. I mean, the good thing is this is such a light shoe, so it doesn't feel like you've got much on foot. Having said that, it does feel a bit more because of this wide base. So I think I'm almost like tempted to sort of like chisel away a little bit like Ed Budd did on one video, because I think I could actually get this back there to be so much sort of like extra foam that what is it that actually doing for me? This could be a really, really light shoe if it was just anyway a bit narrower. I think a lot of people complain that shoes are too wide, but I was reviewing the comments on the New Balance site, and every other person was saying this is really a wide shoe, and that's quite rare to get those sort of comments, so be aware of that. But having said that, I think I do prefer it to the Rebel V2 in the fact that I've actually not decided to get rid of it already. Don't have any odd sort of pains wearing it for sure, so that's one good thing. So this shoe obviously doesn't have a plate, so it's actually quite flexible. I can really sort of push it up there, and it's quite like that in a sort of a non-plated shoe. I think it's more traditional sort of racing flat vibe, although the width is about double the width of the old racing flats for sure. So I think when I'm sort of going up a bit faster, then it's nice to sort of like get a flex in the toes. The only downside with that is I felt that this sort of compression here, that when I was sort of getting a bit later in the run, I felt like I was actually almost to be quite a lot of ground feel, and not particularly a sort of a nice feeling with the shoe with sort of like a modern foam. You're kind of thinking that you want a bit more sort of protection on the toes. And I did sort of think that how much would this midfoot actually sort of like collapse in after a few more runs. Not quite sure how resilient it's going to be. I mean, the outsole's fine after 30 miles as you would expect, but I was already starting to think that, yeah, would this foam start to compress too much? Remains to be seen. I'll have to report back on that. Heel canter is, bit of structure there. I mean, it's sort of blend between the old sort of like really solid plastic ones of old and almost the nothing ones in the sort of some of the races. I can flat that down quite a lot. Not getting any problems with the heel rubbing at all, despite the fact I've got this very tight over the midfoot. So that's good. Outsole, as I say, just looks ridiculous, doesn't it? And it doesn't look like it's actually got that much rubber. I did take it out today, and it was sort of quite drizzly, bit of water on the road for sure. And I suppose step in a bit of mud on an unmained road. That's why it got so muddy. But the outsole, although it doesn't appear to have much rubber, I felt like it was perfectly good grip, and yeah, no worries there. A nice blend here of not having too much rubber, just to keep that weight down, I suppose. But yeah, as I keep saying, why is it so wide? It really is quite frustrating in a way. So yeah, glad I tried these, but I'm not sure this is going to be a shoe that I'm going to want me to reach for every day, although it probably is an everyday trainer. It's the sort of shoe that I got up to about sort of like 7:30 pace when I was running in a straight line. I do all these crazy runs where I go in and out of cul-de-sacs for city strides. It's quite good for that, because obviously with the light shoe, it's kind of easy to start up again when you've got to turn around. But it wasn't really a shoe that really felt I wanted to sort of do much more than those sort of runs. Yeah, nice to have a shoe that's kind of nice and light for your daily training. And compared to the Speed 4 and the Max 6, which are pretty much identical, about 305 grams to me. So this shoe is actually 30 grams lighter than those two, and it's a whole 70 grams lighter than the Boston 12. Which seems to have gone out of favour a bit, didn't it? I think people have moved on from that, and I never really liked that one because it was just so heavy relatively. So yeah, it's also nice to look for a shoe that's nice and light for me, and I think 275 grams would be light, sort of reasonably light to average for most people. So that's one good thing. So in a way, I kind of think, well, another advantage of this, it kind of looks a bit like the New Balance Elite V4. Although it's only half the price. I think the difference is, although it looks very similar, I think it's a full PEBA foam in the racing shoe, and of course it's got a carbon plate, but they do seem to be charging you £260 for the privilege, and the reviews of that haven't been that great. And with a form factor that's going to be presumably like this. I think I've even heard it might even fit a bit wider. So I think it's definitely a shoe that I'm not really going to be wanting to pay my money for that one. But if anyone's got it, then please let me know in the comments if you find that good. So yeah, is this Rebel V4 a shoe that's interesting you? I'm glad that I actually tried it, and I think I'll continue to wear it. But up against the Max 6, maybe I need to do a video comparing the two, also with the Speed 4. I kind of think I've got 3 shoes there which are now nice and lightweight for daily trainers. Can't say any of them really excite me, and I can't say yet which is my favourite. I think I need to do a bit more in all of them. Perhaps the Speed 4 is the most familiar type of shoe to me, and the Max 6 was perhaps also a bit more better than I thought, and this one perhaps also a bit more better than I thought, but equally not wonderful. So yeah, so what do you think of this one? Is it a shoe that you're going to get? So I hope you found this interesting. Like and subscribe to that, and see you on the next one then. Bye. I'll just show you putting these on just to see how much I have to pull the laces in. I do like wearing my thin socks though, but just something I just get used to. So this tongue's quite nice actually. It's gusseted, as I said, and it's quite a thin one, but it's also a bit of padding to it, so you don't feel like you've got any pressure too much. But having said that, I now have to almost do a tug of war contest with these laces, and I think I would get them actually touching by the fact that that little holder there is in the way. So yeah, when I've actually got them tight, I mean here then with this Phantom Fit upper, so then it does feel actually quite snug. I actually feel like I've got a nice wrap around there, which is quite nice, but I do feel like I'm sort of slightly almost at the point of cutting the circulation off, so it's not really ideal. And then, of course, I've got a lot of excess laces. I might have to cut these, but it is kind of easy to pull in laces when you've got a nice bit of tug of war to do it, as it were. And then I'll do a double knot and hide the excess there underneath the laces, something like that. So, yeah, they don't sort of bob around. But, yeah, I mean, it's kind of odd that I've got a nice conforming foot shape there, but it just sort of flares out so much. It just feels like it's a shoe that clearly wasn't designed for me, for sure.